Hi guys, this is my March 31st analysis for the events kicking off in the Middle East, and then following on from that, either a couple of days later on April the 3rd or a couple of weeks later on April the 18th, is when things appear to affect the United States of America and the United Kingdom as well. So here I have pieced together the scenes in the iPet Goat video that I think are related to the Middle East, and I'm just going to play it for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So those are the events as I see it, and I'm just gonna kind of explain as it plays. So I think that the Osama bin Laden character here is a representation of either Iran or the Middle East in general, and the way that he raises up his hands, it suggests to me that there's kind of like a uprising in the Middle East that results in either Israel or America striking the Middle East, possibly a mosque. Again, the mosque could be symbolic for Islam in general. Following that, there appears to be a nuclear attack of some sort. This attack, I'm just going to stop it there for a second. This attack, the fireball appears to be off of the ground, so ground level will be around here. This tells me that the detonation appears to be an atmospheric explosion, which could result in an EMP if it's detonated at the right height. I'm not sure if that's where the EMP is generated, but it certainly does appear to be an atmospheric detonation rather than a ground level one. Carrying on, we have the mother and the child here, which I think is a connection to Passover in terms of the Egyptian firstborn being taken away. The reason I think is Egypt, this scene is referencing, is obviously because of the mother and the child, skin tone, dress sense. Over here, we also have what appears to be one of the kind of statues that they have with the long beard. This image is kind of lying on its back. You can't see half of the head, but you can see the nose, you can see where the mouth would be, the little goatee, and the long beard that comes up. So that kind of tells me it's Egypt. As the scene moves on, we get the scarab beetle there, so that is more reference to Egypt. And if this child and this mother represent Passover in reference to the firstborn being taken away, then Passover this year is on the 31st of March, which is the same time as a blue full moon, which we have there just in the background. So it would appear that if this video is talking about future events, then on Passover, March the 31st, there may be an attack in the Middle East, some sort of event in the Middle East, which then has a ripple effect across the world. In terms of the other forces being ready, we already know that North Korea and America and South Korea and Japan and China are kind of right there on the cusp, ready to go. Things have only been kind of slowed down by North Korea saying they want to have a summit with America, and Donald Trump agreeing to that. I think that's just a ploy to buy, more time, or to give the illusion of peace and safety. Excuse me, and then sudden destruction may follow after that. Russia themselves have been, as I mentioned in the previous video, pushing through the English Channel, probing the English, airspace, probing NATO allies' airspaces, getting into close confrontations with American fighter jets. They've had their spy ship along the East Coast for several months now, gathering intelligence. They've got the nuclear submarine drone Canyon. They've got their hypersonic missile. China recently tested a hypersonic missile as well. The UK has all its warships at home, kind of thing. Sorry, some things are going to pop up on the screen now. Stupid things. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. So, I think on March 31st, we've got the 31 over here in the clouds or in the smoke. We've got the 3-1, again, a reference to 31, and 1 and 5, which again corresponds to the 15th lunar day, which associates with March the 31st this year. We've got the scene here with the Egyptian and the possible reference to Passover, and the connection that has with the connection that has with the full moon, blue moon this year, which is on March the 31st. And one thing I didn't add to this part of the video, I kept it kind of separate, was the Statue of Liberty and the Star of David scene, where that appears to be kind of connected together, in which case that may be referencing April the 18th, where Israel celebrates its 70th anniversary, and they may do some celebrations in New York as well. So that's why I'm looking at April the 3rd or April the 18th, depending on what they choose to do in terms of Gregorian or lunar. But March the 31st comes first, and it appears to me that the events happen in the Middle East first. That would be in conjunction with Albert Pike's Third World War, in terms of the Third World War starting in the Middle East. And we already know that Israel are kind of prepared to take on Iran unilaterally, but they do have the support of American troops. In a report I did earlier this week, I mentioned how there were 2,500 troops from America. Again, things are going to pop up on the screen, so sorry. I mentioned how there were 2,500 troops from America training with the IDF soldiers in Israel. And they're just, preparing for the eventuality of being attacked from multiple fronts, which would suggest they are attacked by their neighbors, which are all Muslim countries. So we'll see what happens there. And obviously, Britain just kicked out 23 Russian diplomats, and America have imposed sanctions on them for the supposed election meddling. The UN is looking to impose sanctions on them for what they did in Britain. France and Germany are condemning Russia as well. So the lines are really being drawn in the sand here, with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea kind of on one side, and let's say kind of like the rest of the world on the other side, with a few countries abstaining in the middle, such as possibly New Zealand, although they are part of an alliance. They may not get involved. Again, like Switzerland, they may stay neutral. But that's my video. March 31st, Middle East. We'll see what happens. But according to the iPad God video, it looks like on Passover, that's when things kick off in the Middle East, and then after that, things escalate around the world. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.